It's gift giving season, and sometimes when we head to our fabric stash, it's not always so easy to put something together. I'm gonna help. Keep watching. Hi, it's Fran Morgan with Fabric Cafe, and I'm your fabric matchmaker. Fabric Matchmaker is a show where you send in your fabric and we get to match it. It is so much fun and we love to do it. And at the end of the show, stay tuned because we are going to show you how to submit your fabric. So let's jump into the very first submission that we have for today's show and see what that is. Now, we have Cassandra here and she submitted this gorgeous batik. It has such beautiful colors and so much movement in the pattern in the batik. Just love it. So let's see what she says about her fabric. Cassandra writes, "My sister gave me this fabric when I started quilting a while ago. I just love it and the colors are gorgeous." And I happen to agree with you, Cassandra. "I have tried to find something that will do it justice in a quilt and have not had any luck. I love your Matchmaker series, Fran, and I'm hoping you can work your magic for me and this beautiful fabric. Thank you." All right, Cassandra, I think we've got something spectacular for you. So let's jump in and look at the pattern first. So I have chosen the Delight pattern from our new book, Magic. And I think this one is going to be fabulous with your fabric. And the reason why is the focus fabric goes in this block here as well as on the border. And then it has this kind of like a little reflection block the way this works. And I think I've got something that's going to be perfect. And your fabric's going to be highlighted in this block. So let's put it on the table and check out the fabric. Okay, Cassandra, so in your case, I have definitely placed your fabric in the #1 position. Now, I'm going to talk just a little bit about batiks because I know that some struggle a little bit about coordinating them and putting them together. So the first thing that I would recommend when you're working with batiks is look at it as a solid color. So in this case, I kind of look at this as a purpley pink color as a solid color. So I want to stay in that color family for your quilt here just to kind of keep it all connected or the continuity in the quilt. So I've chosen a #2 fabric that also has the shades of the purple, but it's much lighter. And then a #3 fabric, which is much darker, but still in the same color family. So we've got dark here, and you can see the contrast, still in the purples. The #2, still in the purples, but very light. And then, of course, your fabric. So let's place them in the quilt. So as the focus fabric, that is going to go here in this block here. And then it's also going to go on the border. Now, the #2 fabric is your background. Now, remember, your background, your #2 fabric is the fabric that we want to recede a little bit so that your focus and your #3 really pop. So that's the reason why we've chosen the lighter color for the background. Now our #3 fabric will go in this little kind of a shadow, I think is what this feels like to me. It's almost like a reflection of the focus fabric. And then it's also going to go in this block here. So I think that it is just perfect. I think the colors went together so well and it's striking. So let's check out that image and look at that because you can see just looking at the fabrics, they don't necessarily go, wow, although I do really, really love them. But when you see them all put together in the quilt, you can see how they harmonize so well with the base colors, that purple undertone on all of them. I think it's just fantastic. Now, Cassandra, for participating today, I am going to send you our new book, The Magic of 3-Yard Quilts. It does include our Delight pattern here. And then I'm going to also be sending you 1 yard of our #2 fabric and our #3 fabric. So thank you so much. Can't wait to see your quilt made up. Be sure and send me a photo. Now let's see what we have for everyone else. I absolutely love this kit. You know, sometimes whenever you're putting them together and you work so hard and you work so hard and you're switching out fabrics and you're doing all of these different things and you strike gold all of a sudden and it's like, oh, wow. And that's one of the things that I did with this one. So I tried to keep some of the purple tones that Cassandra had in hers, but our particular batik has a little bit of green in it as well. Now our focus fabric, you can see, it is just absolutely gorgeous. And once again, it's going to go here in this block and then on our border. Now we're using the same number 2 because it has those purple tones, just like our focus, but it keeps the light color, the lightness, so that it falls to the background. And then our number 3 also has just a little bit of these purple tones in it, but all the greens really help to unify this and give it the harmony. And of course, the number 3 fabric is our shadow here and in our alternate block. And I especially like this one because it has just a little bit of metallic on it, so it gives you a little bit of pizzazz in that block. So it's really super. Now, look at the screen at that great image, and what a pop that is. And the greens and the blues and the purples just play so well together and make such a scrumptious quilt. So the kit information on this one, because I know you're going to want it, it's called Sisterly Batiks, and the number is 8022543. It is the Delight pattern from the book, The Magic of 3-Yard Quilts. The alternate pattern that we're suggesting is Garden Path. So our next participant is Shannon, and Shannon has sent in this camouflage fabric, which kind of made me chuckle just a little bit when I opened your envelope, because I know my husband's closet is full of this, and I'm sure a lot of other families have this in their life as well. So let's read Shannon's story and see what she says about this. Shannon writes, "Finding material to make quilts for men has been challenging for me. I found this camouflage material and thought this would make a great quilt for hunters. I have wrestled with both colors and pattern to use. Having several of your books has given me some good ideas, but I really need some recommendations from you." Well, Shannon, I think we've got something super fun for you. Let's check out the quilt. So our quilt that we're going to use for the camouflage fabric is Jigsaw. And I think this has a lot of great pattern in the actual design of the quilt, which is part of the reason why I chose it. So the focus will go here in this little step down part, and then we have our background and our number 3. And let's put this on the table and I will tell you a little bit more about why I chose this pattern for the fabric. So our Jigsaw pattern, as I was mentioning, has a lot of strong design just in the pattern itself. And I think in this case, it's going to be very, very important. Now, our camouflage fabric is not necessarily a busy print, but it is a large print and it's a bold print. So putting it in this number 1 position right here is really going to help it stand out, and it's going to unify. And what's really cool, it's camouflage, right? So these seams are not going to show, they're camouflaged. So we are going to be using that in your number 1 position. Now I have put 2 rather simple fabrics with it because I think that's going to be the key here. To really keep the camouflage being the star of the show, which of course is what we want, we're going to just put a very basic number 2 that has some kind of a nice earthy gold here, and that's going to go everywhere the blue is here. And then I have chosen this kind of brown gray to go with it as our number 3. Now that is going to go everywhere the black is here. And I like this fabric, and this is going to sound funny because it looks like dirt, you know, because it looks all roughed up and scuffed up, and I think it kind of looks worn and really kind of cool. But there's not a lot of pattern to it. It basically is a texture and depth. So I know a lot of you have heard me say when you go with a bigger, bolder print like a camouflage is, you want to keep the next 2 fabrics pretty simple to really highlight your number 1 fabric. So I think this is going to turn out great. Let's check out that image on the screen, and you can see how the pattern itself, just all of the nice movement in that, really is great for this particular fabric set here. So thank you so much for participating, and I am going to be sending you our Modern Views book, which has the Jigsaw pattern in it, as well as 1 yard of the number 2 fabric and the number 3 fabric. All right, let's check out and see what we have for the rest of you. Now, I love the fact that I was able to find a camouflage fabric because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to, and I was so excited. So this one's a little bit smaller print, but it will work equally as well in this number 1 position here. And then our number 2 is that nice same kind of beigey gold that is going to go in our number 2 position. And then of course our nice roughed up kind of brown here that looks a little worn and a little, you know, tough. And that's going to go in the number 3. Now, as you can see from the image on the screen, this works equally as well. I love the camouflage print in that number 1 position. You can see it just blends so well together in that step on the jigsaw pattern. And then our number 2 allows that to pop, and number 3 gives us that ruggedness. So I really like the way this one turned out. I think it would be equally as good for the hunters in your life or anyone maybe in the military. I think that would work well. So the kit information on this one is 8022544. It is called On the Hunt, and it's the jigsaw pattern from the Modern Views book. So our next participant is Peggy, and Peggy found this gorgeous floral in her stash that she's wanting to match. And I just thought this was so charming. I love the kind of blue and beige together. I think it's really, really nice. So let's read Peggy's story and see what she has to say. Peggy writes, I purchased this fabric while visiting my childhood friend in Missouri. We had been best friends through our 20s, and then careers and families took us in different directions. We reconnected 3 years ago through Facebook and picked up where we left off 40+ years ago. As we connected, we discovered we still had many common interests, such as quilting. We decided to take a day trip to as many quilt stores as possible. I fell in love with this fabric, but I've never been able to find a pattern and coordinating fabric. I want to make a quilt for my sewing room and remember that special day with my lifetime BFF. Please help. Well, Peggy, I think we have something fabulous for you. So let's check out the pattern. So the quilt pattern I have chosen for you is Allure. Now, I really like Allure, one, because it really is a fast and simple quilt to put together. But second, it's because it has this great block here that is bordered with the number 3 fabric. So your fabric's going to really show off right here, and I think that it's going to be great. So let's put this on the table and check out the fabric we've put with yours. I really like how this turned out, and as I said, I like it whenever I can come up with a pattern where the number 1 fabric is framed like it's a picture, because I really love how it goes together that way. So we're placing your fabric, Peggy, in the number 1 position, and it is here, and it's framed by the number 3 fabric. So I think it's really going to be fantastic in this square. Now we've got a little bit on the border too, which is really super because it brings the color out on the border. Now the number 2 fabric that we've chosen, what I was trying to do is I wanted to get something for the number 2. Now remember, the number 2 is your background, so it recedes. I wanted to make sure it has a similar coloring as the background on your fabric so that it looks like it all is very, very cohesive. So we have found kind of, it looks a little like a parchment or something like that, those same kind of a beigey off-white fabric, and it is going to go all in these places here. Now the number 3 fabric, which I think is gorgeous, very similar aesthetic and feel to the fabric, but it is a tone-on-tone. And this fabric picks up the darkest tones in your fabric, which I think was the perfect match, so that whenever we frame it on this block here, it still gives you that pop and that like a picture quality that I'm looking for. Now I also picked one that has a little bit of interest to it because it is going to be going in this smaller block here, and I think it's important to not go too simple, but yet simple enough so that it doesn't compete with our focus fabric. So we have an image on the screen, and you can see that that turned out so beautifully, and it just is so charming, and I think it'll be a great addition to your sewing room, Peggy. So thank you so much for participating and for doing that. We are going to send you our book, The Magic of 3-Yard Quilts, which has the Allure pattern in it, which is what we're using. And we are also going to be sending you 1 yard of the number 2 and the number 3 fabric. So let's check out what we have for everyone else. I thought this turned out really great, and I'm going to explain a few things on this one as well. So I couldn't get Peggy's exact fabric, so I got something that had a similar feel, and we do have our same blues and beiges. And this is a really great focus fabric because we've got our beautiful florals on here, but in the background we have a little darker beige with a white pattern. Now this fabric is going to go in the big square here as well as on the border. Now picking the number 2 was really very important on this. And what I did was found a fabric that was a simple fabric that would recede to the background, but it's the same color as the background on our focus fabric. And it has this little bitty white dot which picks up the white in the vine on our focus. And I think that this is what gives it the cohesiveness that we're looking for without being too boring. Of course, this is a nice big print, so we want to keep these more simple. So number 2 fabric bordering here is going to give you lots of interest. And then our number 3. Now, once again, I wanted to pick something that was simple, has a little bit of print, but not too much print. And I think this one worked perfectly. Perfect coloring that goes with our nice florals here. A little bit of a pop of white, which picks up the white vines, but yet plenty of contrast, so whenever we have our border here, it looks really great. And of course, we're going to feature it in this block here, and it's still going to have some interest because of all the texture. Now we have a great image on the screen, and you can see how beautifully that goes together and how it's just so charming and is going to add such a great touch to many sewing rooms or any other place. They're a great gift as well. So this quilt kit information is 8022545. It is called Floral Reunion. It is the Allure pattern from the Magic of 3-Yard Quilts, and we are recommending the alternate pattern of Pretty Please. So I just want to thank everyone again for participating during this episode. Really appreciate all of the fabrics that were sent in. Now, if you would like to participate in Matchmaker, just go to our website, fabriccafe.com. Click on the free goodies tab, and then there will be a submissions sheet there. Now, I do prefer a 12-inch swatch, so if that's at all possible, I would really appreciate it. I would love to match your fabric. Now, we're all looking at our stashes this time of year, so let me know what kind of gifts are you making and who are you making them for? I would love to hear. So thank you so much for participating. It's Fran Morgan, your fabric matchmaker.